very warm welcome to you all to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast over Equinoxe television. I am Babla Jonathan. In our top stories, last weekend was a bloody one in the crisis-stricken English-speaking northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, where three separate attacks by pro-independence fighters left at least 3 persons dead in the two regions. President Paul Biya's prolonged stay in Europe is fueling growing public debate, despite the presidency describing it as a brief private visit. And as his absence continues, questions over governance, transparency, and constitutional continuity are becoming increasingly prominent. In the meantime, a former or retired Colonel Samuel Ekambi, now president of a political party, the Republican Union, laments over the bad situation of the country and says Cameroon and Cameroonians need discipline at all spheres of national life. At least 3 persons died in 3 incidents in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, plagued by socio-political and security tensions for close to 10 years. Now, the separate incidents, or the 3 incidents, were attributed to pro-independence fighters. 2 persons died in the northwest and 1 in the southwest region of the country. Smanjik and Gabriel Charles Osmo.
Violence struck again late Sunday night in Bamenda. According to residents and local sources, Azanui Clifford, a nursing teacher at the Florence Nightingale Higher Institute of Health and Biomedical Sciences in Mile 4, was shot dead near a popular snack bar. Witnesses say he had spent the evening with friends before the attack. The circumstances surrounding his killing remain unclear, and no group has claimed responsibility. Just days earlier, on Friday, July 24th, another Clifford was killed. A young businessman, popularly known as Who's Poppy, was shot dead when gunmen opened fire on his private car around Sabga Hill near Bambili in Mezam Division. Sources say he and others were returning from a funeral. His body has since been deposited at the Bamenda Regional Hospital mortuary. Who's Poppy ran a business in Waterside, Old Town Bamenda. The identity of the attackers is still unknown. The violence spilled onto a football pitch. On Sunday, referee Agbopita was officiating a holiday tournament match when suspected separatist fighters stormed the field and attempted to abduct match officials. Eyewitnesses say referee Agbo resisted and was shot dead on the spot. The attackers then left with 3 other referees. The killing comes just weeks after the president of the Cameroon Football Federation said he could eat soya in the southwest without bodyguards, suggesting that peace had returned to the region. Authorities say investigations are ongoing in all 3 cases. The rising insecurity continues to raise concerns among residents in both the northwest and southwest regions.
And in the heart of the Douala 5 subdivision, residents of Bepanda Young neighborhood continue to live with the unpleasant realities of an underdeveloped neighborhood. And despite community efforts to improve on the living conditions of the people in that part of the country's economic capital, poor roads, dangerous drainage canals, and the absence of basic services remain a daily challenge to the people, as Innocent tells us.
Bepanda Young remains one of the enclaved neighborhoods in Douala 5 where basic infrastructure is still lacking. As night falls, many streets are plunged into darkness, exposing residents to insecurity. Although some community-led street lighting initiatives are beginning to emerge, most assaults occur under the cover of darkness. We want this insecurity to end. The rotten electricity poles keep collapsing. They should be replaced with strong and durable ones. The neighborhood is crisscrossed by large drainage channels that continue to erode with every rainfall, eating into the already narrow roads. Our suffering continues because lasting solutions were never put in place from the beginning. We did our best to build this makeshift bridge ourselves. Residents are forced to rely on a fragile makeshift bridge. Children could be swept away during heavy downpours. Elderly people like us often fall into these eroded drains. Strong currents wash away the makeshift bridges we rely on. Waste disposal is equally challenging, with no garbage bins and roads too narrow and deteriorated for collection trucks to enter. No motorcycle or tricycle can go up or down this hill without slipping or falling. It has become a common occurrence. Some residents dump refuse anywhere and into drainage channels, worsening flooding, mosquito infestation, and foul smells. Some residents take advantage of the darkness to dump garbage into the drainage channels. Access to clean drinking water is another major concern. Most families depend on boreholes owned by a few residents because potable water is unavailable. Faced with these realities, members of the local development committee, with limited support from the Douala City Council, continue clearing blocked drains, installing old nets to trap plastic waste, filling potholes, and extending street lighting where they can.
Et nous demandons aussi à la hiérarchie de nous venir en aide parce que nous seuls là, nous ne pouvons pas, mais nous faisons de notre mieux déjà.
Residents are now calling on the Douala City Council to urgently provide durable drainage systems, a solid bridge, accessible roads, garbage bins, and modern tools to finally bring meaningful development to Bepanda Yongyong.
What the presidency of the Republic of Cameroon initially called a brief private visit to Europe of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has turned into a more than 50-day stay out of the country, and there are debates about the briefness. According to many Cameroonians, 50 days and more is not brief, and President Paul Biya's prolonged stay in Europe is fueling growing public debate, despite the presidency's description of the stay as a brief private stay. And as the absence continues, questions are now rising over governance, transparency, and constitutional continuity in the country. For me, Armstrong Standard reports.
The president left Yaoundé on June 7, 2026 for what the civil cabinet called a brief private stay in Europe. As of July 27, 2026, he has surpassed his own 2024 record of 49 days abroad. There has been no public appearance and no return date has been given. Pressure is mounting. The ruling CPG and party held a rare meeting of senior leaders on July 22nd in Yaoundé. The opposition, the Cameroon Democratic Union CDU political party, is demanding clarity on the continuity of the state. Lawmaker Honorable Jean-Michel Nenchu has asked the Constitutional Council to declare the presidency vacant. The Social Democratic Front SDF party says the country is now on autopilot. Complicating matters, a constitutional revision on April reintroduced the vice presidency, but the position remains vacant. A new government has also not been appointed since the president's re-election last October. Meanwhile, former intelligence officer Captain Donald Efudu has broken 3 years of silence. In a 27-minute interview on July 24th, the former head of intelligence at the president's special military staff made grave accusations. He alleges an attempted coup d'etat involving some top government officials in Yaoundé. He claims senior gendarmerie officials are linked to drug trafficking, racketeering, and organized crimes. He promised to reveal the alleged masterminds behind the 2023 assassination of journalist Martin Zogo. Efudu says he fled Cameroon in 2023 after sending a confidential coup report to the president, only to see the suspect released under pressure. He says he received death threats. The National Council for Crimes experts says it has opened technical reviews of the allegations while warning about responsible dissemination. Those named, they say, reserve the right to legal actions. Added to the crisis, a fierce rivalry between key officials at the presidency is said to have erupted over gold trafficking and succession. According to reports, a joint commission was set up in February to investigate the gap between the declared gold and black market sales in Dubai. The numbers are staggering, with the president's health and return dates still unknown and speculations pointing to a return in hours or days but not weeks. Cameroon now faces a perfect storm. An absent president, explosive accusations, and a gold scandal that reaches the top of the state. A nation of close to 30 million people await answers that may not come as soon as expected.
And a colonel on retirement, Colonel Samuel Ekembe, now president of a political party, the Republican Union, is expressing deep concerns over what he qualifies as the bad situation of Cameroon, and he thinks that there is need for urgent action to remedy the situation. He was speaking to The Inside over Equinoxe television yesterday. Here's an extract of what he told me in The Inside. Right, we'll be bringing to you that extract shortly. We also told you, I told you in the headlines, that Colonel Samuel Ekembe said that Cameroon and Cameroonians need discipline at this point in all spheres of national life to be able to bring about a situation or improve on the situation of the country. And now let's take a listen to what he said about discipline.
All people in Cameroon, regardless background, need discipline. People need themselves to be disciplined, because you see, when somebody does something and you say, why are you doing this? And they tell you, what is right in this country? I'm free to do what I like. That's why we must say that in Cameroon we need discipline, we need order, and we need peace. And when people think they are not accountable for what they are doing, they will do what they like. And when somebody does something, he knows that he is doing bad. But he knows that nobody will do anything in order not to do what he's doing. That's why we need discipline, we need order, and somebody from the military can implement discipline and order.
And that's why Colonel Samuel Ekembe has now become a full-fledged politician, president of a Republican Union political party, and he thinks that if he takes over the leadership of this nation, he will be able to bring on board or bring to the nation the needed discipline and change that Cameroon so much needs at this juncture of our history. In the far north region of Cameroon, the bridge linking Kuseri to N'Djamena in Cameroon and Chad respectively is much more than just a structure. Every day it welcomes thousands of travelers and traders. It is a connection between two nations. It is a symbol of regional integration, a symbol of increased trade and activities, collaboration between two nations and between border controls, economic activity, and the hope for a more fluent traffic. We now take you on the journey along this stretch, or this strategic stretch between Cameroon and Chad, in this report compiled for us by Cedric Chakutio.
A vital link between Cameroon and Chad, the bridge connecting Kuseri to N'Djamena sees heavy traffic every day. Travelers, traders and transporters cross it continuously, making this structure a strategic artery for trade between the two countries. However, the crossing remains subject to strict controls. Cameroonian and Chadian security services conduct systematic checks of travel documents.
Il y a trop d'embouteillages, trop de circulation dans la rue, dans le pont même.
Les Africains sont des Africains. Les Africains peuvent déjà.
Some travelers are still required to present a visa to cross the border. Beyond the movement of people, this border is also an important commercial hub. Every day, Cameroonian and Chadian traders exchange goods and various products, contributing to the economic dynamism of this border region.
Même le carburant est cher. On réduit le carburant, mais les routes là aussi on peut arranger ça. Il n'y a pas la route. Quand il n'y a pas la route.
Commercial motor taxi drivers from Kuseri wait for passengers at the Cameroonian entrance to transport them to the various neighborhoods of the city. Beyond the movement of people, this border is also an important commercial hub. Every day, Cameroonian and Chadian traders exchange goods and various products, contributing to the economic dynamism of this border region.
Je pars en N'Djamena pour amener le poulet. Oui, je suis le vendeur de poulet. J'achète à 3500 en N'Djamena et je revends à 3750.
A situation which will, however, change as Chadian President Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno announced the elimination of visa requirements for citizens of African countries effective by January 1st, 2027.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président Tchadien.
This measure was welcomed by many Chadian citizens who see it as a step towards the free movement of people and the strengthening of African integration.
Et tous les Africains sont derrière vous.
Between security requirements, cross-border mobility and trade, the Cameroon-Chad bridge remains a powerful symbol of cooperation and the historical ties uniting the two nations.
And the increasing calls for a borderless Africa, an Africa where goods and people can move from north to south, east to west of the continent without the issues of visa. Now coming up, Talking Point. Barrister Are Obenson, lawyer, co-founder of Project Cameroon, also known as Project C, joins us from the United States of America. Barrister, welcome to the program. Let me begin by having your take on the prolonged stay of the President of the Republic, the President of your country, out of the country.
With 65 years of experience, will be faced with such uncertainty that the president of the country, who claims to have had the mandate of the people, is unable to exercise the so-called mandate, is out of incapacity, incompetence, and just sheer disregard for the people that he claims to have the mandate for. But no one should be surprised. No one, because this is not the first time. For 44 years, President Biya has done this to the Cameroonian people, treated the Cameroonian people with disdain. He's more likely to respond to an event outside Cameroon than an event inside Cameroon. Essentially, he has been a president at the service of himself and the people around him who are hanging on to the reins of power and not allowing the Cameroonian people to live to their fullest potential. It is regretful, it's lamentable, it's disappointing, but this is the more reason why we need a new Cameroon, because the current dispensation is one that is not sustainable. Mr. Babila, let me just throw this anecdote. We have just amended the constitution of the country and created a position of vice president, which means that technically it is the vice president that succeeds the president, and no longer the president of the Senate, who, according to the constitution, would have been able to conduct elections within 120 days. We are marching straight into a constitutional crisis of unprecedented proportion, because in the event of the death of the president without the appointment of the vice president, complete chaos ensues. There is no answer to this question that I just posed. So more than just the absence of the president out of the country, which he has done repeatedly without repercussions, it even becomes complicated now with the constitutional wrinkle or the rape of the constitution that took place recently. So my brothers and sisters and fellow Cameroonians, we have to take our destiny into our hands.
Barrister Are Obenson, Project C is pushing for a new Cameroon, and there's no saying about the fact that a new Cameroon is possible. But this initiative is seen by some Cameroonians, notably out of the country, with you in the diaspora, as a distraction, because according to those who hold this opinion, there is what they qualify as an electoral suspense. Instead of fighting for a new Cameroon, they think that the energy should be channeled towards restoring the truth of the ballot box, or better still, the stolen victory of Issa Chiruma Bakari, according to them. And they are saying that what you people are doing at Project C is a distraction, is it?
That we Cameroonians have the capability of doing more than one thing. Strategy is strategy. You do not have to have just one strategy. In fact, we shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket. The push for a new Cameroon doesn't negate the will of the people as expressed in the October elections. That the one doesn't negate the other. What we are doing is doing what will eventually happen. Please note that even President-elect Chiroma Bakari in all his submissions did mention the need for a national conference. At some point, our country is going to have to reckon with the fact that the foundation of our country needs to be rebuilt. And why wait for something that is going to be inevitable? In fact, we have come to the conclusion that a new Cameroon is inevitable, irrespective of who leads the country. So maybe what we are doing is just being future-minded, whilst but this does not take away from the electoral suspense, as some people would call it. We were very involved in the elections, as you would know, but we also recognize that we cannot just wait for things to happen. We have to be proactive to think about the future. We're not thinking next year. We're thinking how we build for the next 100 years. And we hope our contributions will be helpful for the next leader of Cameroon.
You've been pushing through this agenda for some time now, with online conversations connecting Cameroonians from across the globe every Saturday. What feedback have you received so far? Is the initiative gaining momentum? Are Cameroonians coming on board?
Thank you very much. I would say that we didn't just arrive at this project idea by accident. It was through several conversations, learning about the history of Cameroon, looking at it in the context of what has happened in the last 10 years, the Anglophone crisis, the recent election debacle in Cameroon, the constitutional amendment that just took place in Cameroon. We have contextualized this from 1960, from the 1960 right up to 2026, and we've seen that essentially the very foundations of our country, established in the various constitutions that we've had, that have all been disregarded along the way, that there is need for us to reconstitute who we are as a country, to redefine what kind of nation we are or we want to be, and to put in place once and for all a constitution that serves the interest, the will, the aspirations of the Cameroonian people, and not those of our colonial past, not those influenced by access to raw materials like oil, and not those for convenience, which is intended to keep certain people in power, but to create a constitution that will endure 150 years ahead of us. We want to think about this not in the context of what I believe, what my generation believes, but in the context of the next generation. How else? We believe that this is the only way we could cure the defects in our country. We could bring people together. We could heal. We could have reconciliation. We could respect our cultural identities. Once and for all, put this in a document that will serve so that future generations do not suffer the anguish, the pain that our generation has suffered. That's the idea. And we have hoped to do this through a collaborative process, a process where we are having a conversation with the country. We started this with a survey that is proving from the results, the provisional results that we're having, is telling us a powerful story of the kind of Cameroon that we want, that Cameroonians want to see. And where this survey is taking place in English and in French, we're combining these results. We're having a country that seems so divided is so united in the outcomes that they want. And that's incredibly important because we're seeing the youthful population participate actively in this survey. But the survey is just one part. We hope, Babila, to have a conversation with the Cameroonian people. We're doing that already on our Saturday shows. We hope to listen to a school of experts who would analyze all of these results and come up with suggestions on what kind of constitution our country needs. We hope to engage focus groups, talk to drivers' unions, professional groups about their own aspirations and integrate all of that in that document. And finally, we hope to convene a constitutional convention that will, in essence, adopt this constitution. Now, once adopted, this constitution can serve as inspiration for leaders, the next leaders of our country. It could be the work that is being done now is work that must eventually be done for Cameroon. So why wait? Why not gain time? So this is the process that we're putting in place, and we hope that many more Cameroonians will see value in this process. I do understand the question is, we're so focused on the leadership of the country. We're so focused on what individual leads the country, what political composition leads the country. But we at Project C are focused on what kind of country will this leader lead? And that is a critical question that we all as Cameroonians must be asking ourselves. Finally, this work we're doing has never been done since we got independence in our country. And it's incredibly important for Cameroon and maybe even for Africa that we Cameroonians can now get the opportunity to decide what kind of country we want, and not our colonial masters in France or in England, not Elf Serepka or oil companies that are interested in our natural resources, but us, each one of us, in all 360 subdivisions of Cameroon, 58 divisions of Cameroon and all 10 regions, deciding on the kind of Cameroon that we want. That's what this Once and For All campaign is. And I ask my fellow brothers and sisters, it doesn't matter what political colors you wear. It doesn't matter what leader you stand for or support. Let's for once wear the flag of Cameroon and focus on what unites us rather than what divides us.
We've exhausted our time. Barrister Are Obenson, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation today, and to be more edified on what the Once and For All campaign and, of course, the new Cameroon initiative is all about, and to have more information on how to drive the nation to that point. Join the conversation every Saturday online and put your stone to the edifice of a new Cameroon. That's it for today. Thank you for staying with us. God bless Cameroon. God bless Africa. Goodbye.